Hey Tuskegee, this is Black Consciousness Today. In studio we have Mr. Jonathan Davis, Mr. James Coleman, and your host, Arthur Powell. Mr. Powell, take it away.
Thank you, Brother Producer. To everyone out there, I thank God for your presence. I also thank God for this opportunity. I definitely want to thank our young brother there behind the camera for helping make this all possible. For if it were not for him, we wouldn't have the TV studio. So that is an accomplishment. I want to give him this applause while he's still above the ground. A job well done and very much needed, vital to our community. It's another way of opening up avenues for us to communicate. So we need you to hit us up on their website. But this show is about the focus on Black consciousness and the power within our African American Black family. But we must focus and realize that we need to come together to sit at the table, understand our problems, seek the solutions. Don't worry about 400 years ago. Our time is now. We speak about our future generation. Our future generation is here today. We speak about our young, but we, the elders in the family, we lived our life when we were young. We made some young mistakes. Things have changed since we were 16. We're living in a broader society. We have more confusion, more deception going on among us. But we realize it. So we can't consistently sit back and ask, why are our young people doing these things? We must find ways and means to attract their attention, sit down with them, give them the best guidance that we can. We can't always determine the results, but we can definitely show the pathway through our experience that it might touch their culture. So I went to a meeting, was it Monday night? Monday night. People always say to me, I should bring in an inspiration speaker. First of all, I live on a shoestring budget, so I can't afford one. But as I went, some of the things he talked about, the very same things I talk about. But I don't have a title, I don't have a college degree. But one of the things he spoke about was unity. Unity within our he didn't use the term African American family, but parents. To unite, begin to do things with the young people. So we need to reach out in order to make change. But it's important we have the courage to change ourselves. And it's important that we don't fear the perceived threats. We don't know the reality behind the threats, but they are perceived threats. So a lot of times we get caught up in these illusions and myths. So we stay home, close our doors, let the monster flow around the front yard. Next thing we know, the monster's in the house because we didn't try to keep him out. We hid ourselves. We can no longer continue to do that, especially with our young. Now we're supposed to love our children, is that right?
Yes.
So if we love them, no matter what they do, we can't just throw them in the garbage can. We got to go out and try to save whatever we can, in the hope that they will turn around and say, train them while they're young. Well, every home is not the same. There are different ways of training. We've had different experiences, but there's something coming in those experiences. So we learn things from experience, and they're going to learn from theirs. But hopefully we're giving them enough substance in their hearts and minds between right and wrong. When we were young, we did some of the things Mom and Dad told us not to do because we thought it was fun. And some of it got us in trouble. But thank God we're here today. So to obtain the results that we desire, we must make the investment ourselves. Find ways to bring our young people into the process. They have thoughts. Let them have a voice into their future. But we can help them by laying the groundwork, taking that path of prosperity into the future. So we have Brother Davis here today, man who's well experienced in the community. I'll let him share some of his thoughts. That's what do you think we, the adult community, should be doing in relationship to our young?
Thank you, Brother Powell, and I'd also like to echo your thought as far as Brother Patrick here, bringing live to the Tuskegee community a program that I would say sensitized the community to black consciousness. I had the privilege last couple of days ago to attend a unity breakfast at the Kellogg Center. And during that breakfast, I had the opportunity to hear some of the things that was happening in the community as far as unity. As we know, divided we fall, united we stand. I'm thinking that with the new president taking office in the next month or so, that if there ever was a time that we would have a challenge of uniting ourselves together to do what we can for ourselves in our own community, is now. Of course, we can talk about Barack Obama and what he did or did not do. I sense that he had a desire to do more than what he actually was able to accomplish. With the new president, we don't know what we got, but we do know that we are going to have to be united on our front to be able to accomplish the things that we need to accomplish. At the Unity Breakfast, I did hear where a group of Greek organizations around the country was able to raise $300,000 for Tuskegee University. Dr. Harrington was the coordinator of that project, which I thought was something that was noteworthy. Anytime our community, our Greek organization can get together and come up with that amount of money, $300,000 is not just a drop in the bucket. It really sensitized me to what possibly can be done in the community. And when we start talking about black youth and the things that we can do to address some of their issues and concerns, you know, if I looked at it from a educational point of view, I would think in terms of our HBCUs, our historic black colleges and universities. As we all know that there's a limited amount of male teachers, is a limited number of male teachers in our school system. It would appear to me that it would be a noteworthy for an organization to get together and try to stimulate and motivate more of our young black males to go into education, because education is not everything, but it is a foundation of boundaries and opportunities. And if I looked at what I see every day, I'm a volunteer with the Macon County Juvenile Court. I have the privilege of attending court monthly, a couple of times a month. And in that process, you see that need is so great. I have the privilege to go to both of the high schools here in this community. I see the need so great. And then when you start talking about individuals that would have the opportunity to impact our community to what I would call raise our black consciousness, really when you look around, they're just not there. They are just not there. So we have to continue to look at ways that we can do what we can do to try to make things better. Programs such as this, having guests on programs such as this, Patrick, I think this is a start, you know, because of the fact that we all can have a lot of knowledge, but if that knowledge is not shared, if it's not being presented in the proper manner, then that knowledge to me is no good to our community. I think this new arena that we just entered is going to bring on some challenges for us as a community, especially as a black community, and we just have to take advantage of that. Sometimes disequilibrium allows for growth. When everything is good and everything is like we like to have it, then there's no need for us to look at other ways. But I think that opportunity is here now. As I sit here, I'm looking at a poster that says the time is now. I'm looking at Barack Obama. I'm looking at Martin Luther King, and that other person looked like Malcolm X. You know, those brothers' time was then, and our time is now. So black consciousness is something that we should never forget as black people, because if a person don't know where they come from, then it's going to be very difficult to get to where they need to go.
Very well said. Very well said. And this being the second show of the new year, I hope that some advice that I gave on the last show is being followed as far as blessing somebody every single day.
Amen.
And we talked about how to do that. And also, I think a big problem we have is parenting. You know, we no longer parent our children. We see a lot of children that are overweight because they don't go outside to get any exercise. There are no fathers there to throw the football with them. You know, they sit in front of the TVs, the babysitter now, the computer, everything, and the games. You can have a family come into a restaurant and they won't even talk to each other. Everyone got a little handheld computer in their hand, and they texting each other, and they sitting right across from each other. They don't even communicate anymore. And communication is the key. I mean, if you sit down and just talk to the child, find out what's on their mind, what's going on. What did you learn in school today? I know it's tough on some parents because they have to work so hard in order just to make it. But you have to find time. You found time to have the child, find time to spend time with the child. And I think that's a big start. Mr. Powell?
Very good, very well. Brother Davis, when we came in, I think I gave you a piece of paper there for to read over and ask you what you thought about it, but I want you to think about that now. Here's my point. All the things that we have said are necessary, are important. The reason why we don't have more male teachers anyway, because one thing, it was preferred as a female. You know, years ago we had more males in there, but then it became that females had to get ahead so they got better opportunity than the males, but that's besides the point. But within our African American black family, see, everything can't be done in the school, everything can't be done in the court. So we need to establish something outside of the system, I say. That we, parents, grandparents, uncles, you know, blah, 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 we come together and begin to do things. Every home is not the same. Every parent is not the same. So we have to understand, I am not Patrick. What went on in Patrick's house, we may have been neighbors at the same time. But what went on in his house did not go on in my house. The way his parents parented was based on what they learned from their parents. So our parents are different. So we come up with different means of parenting. Now I observed, since back in, at least in the 80s particularly, the change in parenting. When our babies started having babies, okay? I noticed the change when the people were poor, didn't have a telephone, didn't have a TV. But that young boy went out on the street and the guy said, hey man, I got a way for you to make some money. They were glad to get that TV, things that they didn't have. So they were looking at the material thing. But then I met this young fella coming back from the Mega Man March. We stopped, bus stop somewhere, I don't know, Jersey somewhere. A whole bunch of us there, and we were just talking. And this was a young fella. I was looking at him. So we had the conversation. Told what he was into, this and that and the other. Then he got around the point and he says, I've been shot. I've been set on the fire. Burn scars, you can see it. He said, but before that, I can never understand why my mama wouldn't let me give her my money because I had plenty of it and she just gave me her check and I gave her my money. She said, boy, I don't want your drug money. It was after that he realized that he meant more to her than a Datmaster TV or a car. He was her child. So he realized after being shot, set on fire, that he was wasting his life, so to speak, but his mother loved him. So she was always there for him. Now, every child don't have a mom and dad in the house, so when I talk about the family, our African American black family, we can establish that when that child goes out the house, we have that spirit of family out there. Wherever he or she goes, there's an auntie or uncle, mama or dad, because we come together as a family. We cannot save one of our children. We have to strive to save them all and hope that we save that one.
You know, one of the things that, well, what Brother Powell alluded to was a piece of paper he shared with me prior to coming in here was that who was to blame for the senseless murders in Texas? You know, when you start looking at incidents that happen within the black community, I think there's enough blame to go around. When I say go around, you know, you can blame it on the parent, you can blame it on the police, you can blame it on the drug dealers, you can blame it on the community you live in. There are a number of things that you can put out there to pass the blame. That was the headlines of the paper that he showed me. Now, my true feeling is that we all have to be responsible for our own actions, and we have to be responsible for our community, and we have to be responsible for what our vision is as far as what we're going to participate in to make a whole out of what it is that we feel that is appropriate for our people. Looking at that from a black consciousness individual, you know, we all have different skills and we all have different different talents. I'm a strong believer that we have to sometimes partialize of what we do. Like, for example, I work with children. You know, I don't deal with the senior citizens. Not that I don't deal with them, but that's not my area of specialization. So whatever expertise I can bring to that arena, from that perspective, then I feel that that's my duties and responsibility. I have some knowledge about coaching, so I coach. So I bring that little bit to the table. Therefore, individuals have a chance to interact with positive, pure behavior, become a part of a team, because of the fact that I have been convinced that if you're not part of nothing, then you are very vulnerable for anything. So as far as who's to blame for a lot of the senseless murders that we have in our community, there's enough blame to go around. However, we all have to accept our responsibility, what it takes for us to address what we need in our community. For example, I saw in the Tuskegee News a couple of days ago that they were finna hire some police officers. Okay, working in the juvenile arena, I'm very much aware of our need for some additional officers because of the fact that one or two people can't do but so much on one given shift. So, okay, when you start looking at the blame for that, then, you know, it could go to so many different people. But these are some of the things that we as citizens have to be conscious of. We have to encourage others. And we have to take responsibility for what goes on in our community as it relates to those things that adversely affect us. And we have to be persistent. I think that we have to attend the various council meetings, the commission meetings. You have to have some general knowledge of what is actually happening in the arena where the decision making is being made. So that maybe your input, when I say maybe your input will be heard. And those things, I think, impact the whole.
The article, who's to blame? See, when I talk about the African American family, it's not about blame. It's about learning from those experiences that we have had. It's about looking at what's happening within our family, sitting at the table to seek solutions. Blame don't matter because the blame has been done. Solution for overcoming the past behavior that existed among us that we have left unaddressed. Now that's basically what black consciousness is about. Realizing that we are a family. Regardless of who mom and dad is, we are still a family. First you start off with mom and dad, right? Then you decide to get married. You have children. Huh? Then your children get married. Your family begins to extend. Huh? But since we're all part of God's creation, and we all started from one seed, we need to realize, what's called a skin color, that we are still connected one to each other. Now I understand the skin thing, there's racism, all that stuff. But I say to you, when we, the African American black family, sit at the table, find ways to overcome the obstacles of the past. Kick that lynch fella to the grave where he already is. Stop buying into the illusion that we can't do things among ourselves for ourselves. Huh? Get rid of that myth that the white man had all the power. That little movie just come out, Behind the Figures, whatever it was.
Hidden Figures.
I continue to say to us for years, our people are everywhere. We may not get the recognition, but they can't do what they want to do without us. Unfortunately, we give them this position of authority over us. We can take our authority and still share, but as a people, as a family with a determination, that, hey, Mr. Charlie, I gave you a point about the backlash blues. I want you to tap on that one day. That's a backlash of what we do and what we don't do. When we do the right thing, the backlash is going to be on Mr. Charlie, unless you decide to sit at that table with us as equals. We have that power. We are the most powerful family on earth. We are everywhere. But we got this myth. Well, what they did to great-great-great-great-grandma back in the 1700s when she was down on the slave plantation. And forget, none of us has ever been a slave. We read about it, we heard people talk about it, but none of us has had that experience. The only slave we have is in our intellectual capacity not to think beyond that. We allow that dead man to keep us in a mental state of servitude. We have the power to break that. When I say come, let us sit at the table, renew our hearts and our minds, only we can do that. Huh?
You know, one of the things that Brother Powell is saying right now is that, you know, when I go to these meetings, like I went to the breakfast the other day and I went to the state of the city. They had both of these activities was at the Kellogg Center on campus. And then you look at who's there, who's doing the talking, and what they talking about. And when you're talking about people sitting around the table, I always felt like you need a good combination of grassroots and the high intellect. You need some thugs. You need a little of it all in there, because of the fact that some of the individuals that have so much to bring to the table never included around the table.
They're
So
not
that's
the best and the brightest, right? They're not the best and the brightest.
Well,
so we think.
Well,
We think they're not the best and the brightest.
well, that's a part of it. We
That's a
gotta.
part of our classism. See, we gotta get rid of classism.
Yeah.
That education, it don't make you intelligent.
Yeah.
You could educate yourself beyond your intelligence. I don't know what you got to say, brother.
No, I was just saying, you know, when you mentioned the thing about sitting around the table, whatever meeting I go to, I always look at who's here. You know what I'm saying? When I coach, I say, is all my players here? Are they here? Hey, he's here. Okay, he's here. And that is one thing that we have to do as a people, I think, is make sure that we include those individuals that's not traditionally included. That's a part of our fallacies. That's my opinion. I had the privilege of being an executive at a state agency. And every meeting we had, but none of the individuals that worked directly with the kids was never in that meeting. And I always felt that was a no-no. I said, man, they do a lot more than we do. You know, at 4:30 where I work, you know, all of the, what I call the head sheds go home. But those kids are out there 24/7. And those individuals, hey man, they can tell you some stuff that you would never be able to think of unless you just know that this goes on. So that's my preference. That's the preference of where I'm coming from, as far as the right people need to be around the table. We as a people has to be conscious that none of us know it all. You know, Brother Patrick here knows about the cameras. He knows about getting us on TV. You know, this brother here has living experience that I have not had, so he knows how that goes. Brother Powell has his skills and his ability. But when we bring all that together, and it takes some compromising for all of that to come together and work for the whole. You know, having been a coach, I do know that somebody got to sacrifice. Sacrifice blood in baseball, we all know what that is. Somebody gonna get out, but somebody gonna get bad. So, you know, we have to be willing to take some of those sacrifices. 2017, the new president is coming in. We're gonna be challenged, in my opinion, to be able to be creative. We're gonna have to be able to talk to one another, and we got to be on one accord. So that's my view and vision of black consciousness. We got to come together.
Yeah, come together now.
And it's really, really important that we get positive feedback, because as you can see here, this is great conversation going on. We are sitting around the table right here talking about solutions, but we need you to also participate. So look at that email address that you see on your television, and please respond to it. You will get a response back, and maybe with something that you suggest will be talked about on the next show, maybe.
And we are going to be planning a public meeting pretty soon. I usually have them out in Chee-Haw. Now, maybe Chee-Haw's a little too country for some of you fellas, but Chee-Haw has a history, you know?
Yeah, the train was out there, right?
Booker T. Washington, George Washington Carver, Du Bois, some of them presidents that came down to Tuskegee University. They never would have made it to Tuskegee University
If they didn't come
if
through
they
the
didn't come
street.
through by way of Chee-Haw. All them black airmen that you talk about, they came by way of Chee-Haw. And then, according to the writing, Booker took the Chee-Haw Express, which was a horse and buggy stagecoach, up to find a school that wasn't, but he said, I'm going to create one. So, but one lady said now, one of them coming down there said, Booker didn't create that school. God created that school. He just used Booker to get it done. So what I'm saying is, with God, all things are possible. See, I can only sit here and talk and make suggestions and say, hey, I can do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But, as I say to you so often, we fight against each other and white folks. There are good white people over there. Slavery never would have ended without white folks. So what I'm saying is, renewing our mind, where we think about different things, you know, and looking into the future. We can't change the past, but we can have a very bright, happy, prosperous future. And most of all, we can invest in ourselves. I said to people, why don't we have a Macon County economic development, whatever you want to call it, where everyone in Macon County can put $1, $2, $5, whatever they can afford a month into one fund. But we're going to make it plans how to utilize that fund and taking all the necessary precautions, the legality, how to make it secure. So we have approximately about 20,000 people in Macon County. So I said, if we can get 10,000 of people to put $5 a month or whatever they can afford, that would be great. Why don't we own the supermarket? Everybody buys groceries, huh? But we own it. Take one of our existing ones, maybe merge it together, whatever. But that's a way for it to get done. Why don't we create a mini activity center with a farmer's market? Why don't we create a little mini mall, so to say, with booths for some of these people who small pocket change, but they have some good craft, some things that people will buy, and have a little booth. We set it up, you know. But most of all, we have to think internally. See, we can have McDonald's, what I just used McDonald's, and we pay somebody for $250,000 just for a franchise. That's a waste of money, because I don't have that kind of money, so it's kind of stupid to me. But we have young people who go to school for culinary. We had the restaurant, and they think, we use our own children to cook the food, huh? But it's be ours. We eat there, we shop. And when other people come to town, I said, wow, what happened? When I was down there back in '99, man, them so-and-so was, ooh, I wouldn't want to go back there, but I couldn't avoid coming down here today. But the change, we take that negative off that people have been seeing when they pass through here. When they pass, not even against it. Something happens in the city of Tuskegee. And we cannot depend on our elected officials to do for us unless we're willing to invest in ourselves. We use their position for our benefit. But we put them in office, not for themselves, but for us, but we have to. Can you get it? Mm-hmm. African American black family can do anything more, because we got the power.
Mr. Coleman.
Yes, sir.
Would you please remind us about blessing and how we're going to bless each person as we take out this episode of the show?
Yes, what I have referred to as blessing someone each day, the way I do it is, if somebody has a problem or needs a question answered, you answer it or you solve their problem or point them in the right direction to get the question answered or their problem solved. That's how I bless somebody every single day. If I don't do at least once a day, I have a bad day. So everybody, I challenge you, at least one person a day, bless them, and you will receive a blessing in return.
Amen.
And remember, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
You got that right. Thank you guys. We'll be back next week with another episode of Black Consciousness Today.